everyone, welcome back. It is the Dani podcast. I want to kick off this life hack toolbox podcast with a significant achievement award to myself. My first pod, Dani number 1, has had its 200,000th stream. Woohoo! There should be an applause button, but I can't figure it out. Hey, that number sat at 199 for so long. It was driving me crazy, and without even pressing like that anyone should listen to it that hadn't, we got there. We got there in the end, and I'm so proud of myself because not only am I 17 episodes away from 50, collectively 200,000 downloads for that very first one is just crazy, and I'm so proud of myself. I look back at the podcast that's over a year old now, and I think, holy shamoly, people have come, they've gone, they've come back again. It's like a whole thing. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't the ongoing support from friends and families and all of the submissions that I get across Instagram and Spotify. I am here for it. I love this journey, and I wanted to give you all a big, massive round of applause, appreciation from the bottom of my heart. 200,000 for number 1. That's hectic. Will I ever be number 1 in New Zealand and knock Dominic Harvey off? Probably not. But for the little old Cromwell and something that was nothing, I am proud of myself. So on that note, I wanted to kick off and just sort of run some podcast stats past you all, because sometimes I know it feels like when I talk into this microphone every Tuesday that maybe I'm just talking to one person directly, because it is so easy just to sit here and talk. It's almost like it doesn't even have to be someone that I'm talking to. I could just, waffle on. However, the last pod, the Warbirds one, just reached 12,500 downloads. And that to me shows there is a massive appreciation for aviation. And I do understand that. Sometimes I get so excited about planes and I think I'm the only one, and then I talk about it and then somebody else is just like smiling or remembering something from their grandparents. It starts off this whole thing, and I'm absolutely here for it. We have a couple of new locations that are listening, and I wanted to do a shout out to the team in Hampshire. I don't know where that is, I'm sorry, but I kind of feel like I know who that is. I do have friends. I think it's in the UK. It sounds UK-ish. I really should look at a map before I do this, but I'll never learn. And a couple of people kicking it around in Germany and Singapore, which I find really interesting, because not only am I just talking about the South Island of New Zealand, the interest from other parts of the world is my favourite part. So yay to me. We're still definitely getting the podcast out there, and do share it if there is some topic that I talk about and you think, oh, that person could benefit from hearing Dani talk about it. That is how it just, spreads, and we get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I didn't even ask anyone for any life hack submissions, but sure enough, my Instagram and Spotify just popped off. So I have spent the last sort of 2 days pulling some of my more interesting ones off both of those platforms, just so that I could elaborate and maybe share, because not only is it relatively interesting to come across somebody else's life hack, if it works and it's worth sharing, I'm definitely going to be here for it. And a couple of things I don't actually know about. So I have also tested a few things myself, and it has been an interesting time. Don't ask Susan, but there were some weird things happening from Sunday till now. Anyway, one of the bigger ones that came back was obviously people that own those glass house fragrance candles. And I understand the depth of the actual jar itself, where you start to burn a candle, can sometimes disintegrate, and the flint kind of is quite deep in the jar and you can't always get to it with a lighter or some matches. So a big life hack that came through, it's the weirdest thing, and we are currently missing half a packet of spaghetti, is because pasta actually lights for a very long time, and you can light a piece of spaghetti pasta to light and burn deep candles, and I guarantee you won't singe any of the hair on your hands, but it does work. I went around the house and I was testing it on all the candles, and it was the funniest thing, because not only did it work, I only needed a couple of pieces and I really enjoyed the experience. But if you're like me who loves burning candles, please give this a try. It did make me laugh. There are a lot of people saying their hacks are in the Cromwell region, that they freeze grapes as ice cubes. Yep, been there, big tick. Big tick from me to do that. It does not water down your drink. And it's a refreshing little bite-sized piece of fruit at the end of it if you fancy eating it. Straight off the bat with the food ones, milk in a Nutella jar for a milkshake. So, as say, right now I'm not allowed to have those kinds of extremely delicious things in my life, but I will see how this works. So you basically get to the bottom of your Nutella jar. You then fill it up with milk. You put the lid on. Don't forget to put the lid on. God, I feel like I need to do a disclaimer on that. And then you shake it, and all of the Nutella comes off the sides and off the bottom and off the top. And you have yourself a Nutella hazelnut chocolate milkshake. That is a massive hack, because not only do you stand there sometimes with the spoon and the spatula and you try and get everything out of it, how fangin' delicious is a hazelnut milkshake from nothing? That's yep, I'm here for that one. The wooden spoon over the pot of boiling water to stop the water boiling over. Yes, so off the bat of the night of me walking around the house with the spaghetti trying to light all the candles, we did actually have spaghetti bolognese. So not only did I test it by using one of the wooden spoons in the old cutlery drawer, but it did work. And I don't know what the actual understanding or engineering behind that is. It just worked. And I don't know, gone are the days of turning down the elements and worrying about overspilling the water. It did not go past the wooden spoon. So not only was there an absolute shit show with pasta and wooden spoons, Sunday night was a roar, I tell you. I had a lot of interest in hair straighteners being used to iron your shirt collar. So I haven't actually pulled the iron out of the old linen cupboard for many, many years. It's not something I'm familiar with myself, but I do know of a lot of people that are in the corporate work industry that may be wearing work shirts that could probably benefit from using the old hair straightener on the collar just to get a bit of crispness. So I haven't tested that one, and my brother didn't have any shirts for me to try it on, but I don't see why that wouldn't work, I suppose. The really funny one that I came across, and I don't have a Android, so I tested it on my iPhone, is if you lose your mobile phone, say down the back of the couch or in your car or whatever, you say, "Okay, Google," or "Okay, Siri," and you set a timer for 3 seconds. So not only does the phone go off in 3 seconds and start this alarm, which means you can find the phone if it's in the premise of you being around it. I don't know. It seems too good to be true. But when are we detached from our handsets to actually lose them? I feel like I'd lose mine on my luggage or my handbag, more or less. Not so much the car or home, because I always chuck it on the coffee table or chuck it on the dashboard in the car. So it's an interesting one, but it's definitely one I'll keep in mind if I ever lose my mobile. A funny one just off the Google was if you have a bubble tea straw handy in your home, they are really helpful in removing pineapple eyes. If you're like me and you love pineapple, but you hate those little eye thingies that stick out and they're a bit, hard to cut off, what is even the point of those damn things? You can use the end of a straw to stab it in the side of the pineapple and pop the eyes out, which to me seems relatively exciting. I am going to Hawaii in 40 days, so I will probably try and jam a straw into my luggage just in case, because me and Mel are definitely going to a pineapple plantation to go and check out how that all sort of comes about. Wouldn't it be funny if I was there and I just pulled out a straw and I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if I jam this into the side of a pineapple and test it?" Worst things have happened, I tell you. I haven't tried this, but it was interesting to boil pasta in a shallow fry pan as it cooks faster and uses less water. It looks weird. I don't know. I feel like pasta needs all the absorption of as much steam and water as you could possibly imagine, so why would you shallow do that? I don't know. But it's there. Test it, let me know. I don't really have much interest in the fry pan one, but anyway. Look, I know who submitted this, and I'm just going to say it, but someone said a life hack is to use your indicator so that people know which way you're turning. Oh my God, I love you guys. Yes, that is a big hack. It prevents accidents. Please use your indicator when you're turning. An interesting sort of side note here is that some people have hacked on that if you wear the same colors as a zoo employee, the animals will approach you. Are we all supposed to start going to zoos wearing camo and like khaki colors? Because I love the color khaki. I absolutely would do that. I'd wear like a onesie, kind of like a short jumpsuit kind of a thing, and pretend I was on safari. It's not every day you go to the zoo, but I definitely think that if a zoo is known for wearing those colors, if you wore them yourself, it would be interesting. I mean, could you imagine walking along the fence line and having like the lions follow you because you look like the handler that's got the food? I don't know. It's interesting. What does that say? Oh, another one. I think I know who submitted this. Guys, if you're having a poop, rock back and forth on the toilet to speed up the process. Have not tested this. Please, someone do. I'm still back in the days of the squatty potty. I don't know if you remembered that episode where we were all facing the cistern with our legs up, trying to speed up the process. But if you're pooping, rock back and forth and speed it up and let me know, does it work? Because that is outrageous. I don't know how I feel about that one. So also if you have dead batteries, if you drop them on a hardened ground like concrete, dead batteries bounce, good batteries don't. Does that mean if you chuck like a AA on the floor and it bounces back to you, it's dead, but if it stays on the ground, it's okay? Or maybe that works for those D-size square batteries that come in the back of all your toys. Yeah, I don't have any batteries to try that with. I might pop them out of the old TV remote and see if they bounce. I kind of stuck this hack podcast into 2 different submission piles, or else we would be here forever, because obviously there's a lot of like categories that they could fall under. 2 of which being the one I just talked about, your generalized life hacks that you guys have submitted, but also my biggest one I always enjoy is a good travel hack. Because I am hitting the old airport in a couple of weeks, I am very excited to get some of these sort of discussed, because it's interesting. And if anyone else is traveling this year, hey, look, benefit from what I'm about to tell you, because I took a lot away from these like little dot points. I was like, okay. Not only did we sit inside for like 4 years, but we popped out the other side of a bloody pandemic and everyone's all smart all of a sudden. There's stuff in this list that I didn't even know about. And I was like, okay. So the number one thing I think everyone should do, and it goes without saying, I did this myself yesterday, is to email yourself a copy of your passport and all your documentation in case you, I don't know, do you lose your phone? Do you lose your passport? You always have a copy if you can log into like a destinations library to download copies. I don't know. However, it kind of is beneficial. And not only is it interesting to email like yourself all that documents, there are apps and programs these days where you can push out all of your travel documents into them so that they're safe there as well. I don't know. It's like a whole thing. So find what works for you. I'm saying like if you go further afield than maybe Australia, like, I don't know, Asia, America, Europe, and you want to make sure that you're safe and you're not, stuck in another country, unable to access these important documents, flick them to yourself in an email so that no matter what happens, if you lose the passport or your phone, you can log in on someone's computer and just, prove yourself. I mean, your identification maybe, I don't know. Something that really took my fancy here was to, if you ever come into a situation where you have to cancel your flight for whatever reason, sickness, you're not going to make it, do not cancel your flight in case your flight gets cancelled and you can get a free reimbursement. And I was thinking, what? Not only do I live in Queenstown, near Queenstown, where there's subsequent weather conditions that, prevent you flying. What's to say that you were hungover one morning and you weren't going to make a flight, but then because of maybe snow and ice and wind, the flight doesn't go on time? I get this. This makes sense. So you don't cancel yourself being on that seat until maybe it's in the air, I suppose. I don't know. But if you don't cancel it and the flight doesn't go, and then say Air New Zealand reaches out and gives you a flight credit or reallocates you on a different flight, that's better than you cancelling and losing all the money altogether. That's amazing. I'm so excited. And not only have I got like heaps of domestic flights coming up soon, it's definitely going to work for me in like other countries. I'm going to go hopping around. Another big thing is that if you think another big hack that is interesting and something I've done for many, many years is that if you start thinking about where you want to travel to, go down the rabbit hole of seeking your itinerary inspiration from social media. There's nothing worse than going to another country uneducated about what they could potentially offer you. Right now, me and Mel have been walking around this whole Hawaii thing. I've actually got this massive list. It's A5, double-sided. It's got stuff I want to buy so I don't forget. It's got places we want to visit. It's got bars and restaurants. It's got happy hour times. It's got when live music's happening. There's even things about rental cars because we obviously want to do that. And I know that from the better part of collectively between me and her, there is going to be a lot of savings to be had because not only is she educated on most things, I mean, I say most things, mostly it's menu items because apparently they call food different things over there, but it just means that you don't leave your holiday thinking, shit, I didn't know about the turtle snorkeling adventure. I didn't know that you could hire your paddle boards from the reception at your hotel. I was on the hotel that we're staying at's website yesterday directly, not through booking.com, just checking out what the actual hotel itself was like. I got so excited, you guys. There is a tequila Mexican cantina in the restaurant, and it is something that I was just over the moon about because not only did they do these really cool tequila flights that were famous people's, tequila bottles like Kendall Jenner and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and everything else, but it got me excited and I was like, oh my gosh. So I have a folder on my Instagram and a folder on my Facebook where if I come across anything to do with Hawaii, Waikiki, Honolulu, I've been chucking it into there and I just come back to it when I have a spare minute. And then I chuck things, ideas to Mel and I'm like, hey, have you seen this? Do you know about that? She actually messaged me on Saturday, I think, and said, oh, have you seen that our hotel is on sale, but it was the wrong dates and you still had to pay resort taxes and fees. We wouldn't have known about all this if we didn't see what was happening on social media. So I definitely think a big hack here is that you seek your itinerary inspiration from social media, collectively see what other people are doing over there or how their own experiences have been, make your own calls and judgment, but also be super aware of what's around because, for me, 10 hours on a plane to Hawaii is a long time and it's not something that I've done in many, many moons. So for me, it is a really big adventure and it's quite exciting. But I'd hate to, go over there and have my holiday, but then come back and be like, shit, not only did we not do that properly, but, you're going to make mistakes and I absolutely get that. But it's just sometimes really good to be informed. And I'd tell you a million things about places I've been, but this has kind of been very exciting for us for many, many reasons. If you have troubles on your travel adventure, one of the big things here is to tweet. So use a social media platform like Twitter or X, or find yourself voicing your opinion on social media, I say. If you talk about your travel troubles in a platform where everyone can see it, it will get resolved faster than if you go directly through whatever has happened channel. I can say that this definitely works. Because when we were in Bali, I think it was the last time I went, so maybe that was 2019, something happened at our hotel where a friend of mine, she's absolutely beautiful, love her to pieces, was sunbathing, just with her togs on, nothing out of the ordinary. I was kicking back on my sun lounger, eating Pringles as I do, and I don't know what happened, but she could see the pool boy fondling himself behind a brick wall, face like staring at her. And she tried to get my attention. And as she got my attention, he ran away with his junk out. I was in utter disgust, utter like shock. Holy shamoly, this is happening. So I got on this Bali Bogans Facebook page, which is kind of like the actual Facebook page that everyone goes on before they do their trip there. It's huge. 300,000, people submit their stuff to that page. It's phenomenal. And I just randomly posted, "Hey guys, we're at this," I think it was something like Red Roses Resort in Bali in Kuta. Just wanted to ask, what do we do if we've caught one of the pool boys touching his junk while watching one of us sunbathe? You're like, should we leave the resort, rah-de-rah? Should we approach the resort? I don't know what happened. I think the post got taken down after like about an hour, because not only did I name the resort, but I was like, it was kind of like a name and shame thing. There were people that were staying there that approached us that understood that was us that posted it. And we collectively went to the resort management. They checked the security camera footage. We made friends with the people that helped us with all this. We're still friends to this day. It's amazing. And I think we got our rooms upgraded or something, but the actual worker got fired and he got sent back to Jakarta. But yeah, it was this wild turn of events where it happened. I kind of missed it, but my friend was absolutely mortified. We made friends with people that were helping us through the whole process. The Facebook post got pulled because I name and shame the hotel. And then the resort staff were ever so helpful moving forward with everything else after that, because they were just absolutely disgusted that it happened. So yeah, I definitely say that if anything sort of dodgy happens on your adventures, definitely get it out there on socials and see how it gets solved faster. There's nothing worse than thinking, holy shit, this should have been approached or something should have been done about it. It's not fair on you. You're not the problem. There's, people do this for a living and have these types of situations where they need to get things solved. That's a huge hack. I absolutely agree with that one. Another one that's kind of like a hack from myself is to tell smarttraveler.govt and your bank of your plans. I think this kind of comes down to something my great auntie told me, and she still is a massive traveler throughout the world, is that every country you go to, you make sure that the embassy knows that you're there in case anything happens. Could be anything that's terrorism, dodgy, Mother Nature, whatever. So yesterday I went on to smarttraveler.govt and I registered that these are the dates I'm going to be in Hawaii, and if anything happens, please text me, because not only is that making myself safe, if anything was to happen, the embassy would get me out of there. And Mum was kind of shocked. She was like, well, what are you expecting to happen? And I said, well, Hawaii is full of volcanoes, Suze. So where are we going with this? So it was kind of like a sense of security to acknowledge that a lot of people don't do this, and it's something that I just feel so covered and looked after if I do it. I've done it my whole life. Every time I go to Indonesia, and I've been to America a multitude of times, I just make sure people know my footsteps. It's so important. And also your bank needs to know, because aside from going to places like Australasia and the islands and everything else, if your FPOS card goes missing, or if there's, dodgy transactions or whatnot, your banks can help you. And you obviously need to let the hand guide, what's going to happen, because if they don't know, then they can't help you and you're up shit creek without a paddle. So definitely get on to telling smarttraveler.govt of your massive travel plans. You want to be safe, not sorry, you guys. I want you all to take a picture of your suitcase for insurance purposes. Super important. Not only is lost luggage a massive problem, there's nothing worse than, seeing your suitcase go away in perfect condition and coming back shit because someone's popped a friggin' wheel off it or whatever. Different airlines have different processes in place for when there is damage caused to a suitcase. However, it just helps if your suitcase becomes lost to have a photo of what it looked like before it went. And then just two more random ones. Book a window and an aisle if you're traveling in pairs so that the middle seat always remains free. It's a 90% chance, you guys, 90% that you might end up with an empty seat between you, because who's going to sit in between people on a long distance flight? It's something I probably should have ran past Mel first, because we're sitting in a weird place because of this, that, and the other. But it was a submission of, people have done this in the past. They've booked windows and aisles so that the middle seat stays free. Love that. I'm here for that hack. That's great. And lastly, get on the mailing list of different things that you want to be involved with it could be your hotel's special offers. There's weird things about that, and I was thinking about it last night. So say you get really organized and you join all these social media platforms and you send out your email to join all the mailing lists to get all the benefits and everything else. The downfall of that is that when you come back from your holiday, you have to unsubscribe from everything, or you just keep getting reminded of this fabulous bloody holiday that you can't, you're not still on, I suppose. So yeah, I think it would only be beneficial if you maybe submitted yourself to a couple of mailing lists, the ones that you'd get really good discounts on. For me, it's definitely always like a hotel thing and rental cars. I can't really say too much else on that, because you dig yourself a bit of a hole, and I get it. People want to go and be free and not have to worry about all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Hawaii is fang inexpensive. I think I saw a picture the other day that it was $8 for a loaf of bread. And the exchange rate is unhinged. So I will do anything to save money, just because a holiday is meant to be enjoyable. And I don't want to have to think, oh my God, I have to convert that to New Zealand or whatever. I'm just going with US currency and I'm just living my best life. That's my mindset. But it doesn't hurt if you're going on tours and stuff to get the locals price or, whatever. I don't know. When it comes to a toolbox, I just jotted down a couple of ideas, just because obviously when you're younger, I just think that, and look, I'm kind of a bit of a bad egg to ask, just because I've been out of high school. I think it's my 20-year high school reunion this year, maybe. And I look back subsequently and think, holy shit, there's a lot of things that if we learnt in our school days, we maybe have made some, smarter choices. And when I jotted down some ideas, I don't want anyone to think, oh, well, I don't have grandparents, I don't have parents. It's not so much that, it's just guidance from supportive or mentoring people that may be in your life. I don't really have grandparents. My grandparents all passed away in the 90s, I think. I have my mum's dad, who's my granddad. He's the coolest guy ever. Love him to pieces. But when it comes to, I don't have a father figure either. So supportive mentoring people are quite important, because I love wisdom and I love just old stories and things. It's so interesting. And finding this random older dude who was sitting next to me at Warbirds tell his side of aviation, I was so captivated by that. Love that conversation. And by the way, my friend sitting to the right, who was the chef from Hawke's Bay, we're still in communication, and he had a massive plane fly over his house the other day and he still texts me about it, so that's a whole thing. However, what they don't teach you in school that I definitely think should be implemented, that we should probably know in our late teens, early 20s, is money and investments, and pay rises or inflation. I've been saying this for a long time, and with the whole inflation of 5 to 8%, I made the comment the other day that, if you're in a job and you haven't asked for an 8% pay rise, you're basically being underpaid, or you're not getting what you're worth, because life has gone, 0 to 100 when it comes to the cost of living. And I think that if you are educated early on and you know about money and investing and everything else, just the general basics will see you benefit so much more Whoa, I just hit the microphone. So much more in life that it's just unbelievable, and I need to get that point across. If you are listening to this podcast and you have kids and you want to sort of do more than just a savings account at the local bank or whatever, I can't give financial advice, but it is something so super easy to get information on. Even to the point of like this year alone, I've started my own investing and it's skyrocketing. I was messaging a friend this morning and randomly I got a text that something I'd invested in was paying a dividend. And I was sitting here and I was like, holy shit, it's payday tomorrow and I'm getting paid for my investments. And they gave me this opportunity to reinvest and I was like, righto, well, it's just free money, so I'll reinvest. And it was not even a problem. So I don't know. There should be, if there's not already, and I don't know that there is, more verbatim around how people can manage their money and investments and pay rises and career choices, just so much more than they are. And it's such an interesting topic. And I think being in my late 30s right now, I wish I started in my early 20s. But where was the support? Where was the guidance? I don't even know. It wasn't even something I was discussed in. I had accounting in high school, but he wore some weird loud shirts and I couldn't pay attention. I think a big thing that should be in everyone's toolbox is how to manage macronutrients and cooking. Again, it's off the bat of what I've learned right now just recently. Macronutrients of your proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and sugars. There should be more in a physical education class that teaches you about those types of important factors in your meals. I think maybe obesity possibly wouldn't have blown out like it has, but also why the heck is it more like it's cheaper to eat sweets than it is to eat a banana? Or I don't know. It makes no sense. And I think that kids these days should have the knowledge of how to manage their macronutrients a whole lot better and be taught cooking that's in a more healthier, substantial sort of way than just, I mean, back in my day in home economics, my home economics teacher was my mum's home economics teacher. So that goes to say something, doesn't it? I don't even know if she's still alive, actually. I should ask mum. But I think if it's going to be in your toolbox, you should at least leave home with, I don't know, 5 to 10 recipes that you can cook that are healthy, that are cheap and easy. And I definitely think it's something that we need to teach more. I don't know. I've always been a cooker. I'll cook anything. But do I know what's on the plate? Well, I would say in my late 30s, I've definitely started learning more about that. But it's knowledge that if I had in my early 20s, I probably would be a little bit more different about managing that type of stuff. I don't know. Was I a little bit reckless in my 20s? Absolutely. But off the bat of that would obviously, you know, having that toolbox, something around gym strength training, because it's easy enough just to think that when you are doing cardio that you are doing enough. And I think that if people learnt the proper way to lift a weight or to recognize what that actually does to your muscles, your ligaments, everything else like that, maybe there would be more interest in the gym. I think it would be interesting if you were in class and you were doing more than PE, that you were learning how to build a body that, I don't know, collectively everything comes together and you're just proud of it. I don't know. But it doesn't. You know, you just go through primary, intermediate, high school, pop out the other end and you think, well, could have done that differently. Could have had a bit more supportive information from this, that, and the other. And I don't know, we might be looking a little bit different than we do these days. But also that comes back as personal hygiene, house chores, and skincare. I definitely think we should have more information around that when we're younger. I know people, and this is the only reason I bring this up, I know this guy who doesn't even know how to vacuum. And I'm like, you're 17. Like, what are you doing? So, you know, there's this big thing at the minute about how kids these days are getting into expensive skincare and whatnot. The only reason I bring it up is because my cousin, love her, she's beautiful, But when she was younger, I don't know, there was this weird product in the industry called Proactive, and it was so expensive, but it claimed to work. And she had really acne-prone skin, and like it was so bad. She was like covering her face in foundation, and she just wanted like relief. And we all sort of just thought, holy shit, you can't, be wearing Proactive. It's so expensive. It might not work, blah, blah, blah. It was like a whole monthly routine that we went through. And I look back and I'm just like, wow, what if we knew now what we knew then, and how cheaply you could get and manage your skincare routine because of different ingredients that have come on the market. And it doesn't have to be like a whole regime that costs $300 a month and whatever. But like, do they even teach skincare and personal hygiene in school? I mean, don't they just chuck you a can of deodorant and tell you to get on with it? But no, it's definitely one of them things I've been thinking about. And I'm like, kids these days have got so many more tools available, but their ignorance is really interesting, that they don't want to, I don't know, learn. They don't need to know. It's so weird. It's like, if it's not the most expensive new thing on the market, there's no interest. And it goes without saying, I think it's more, it's so much deeper than that. And I struggle to think, like, how do they know how to use the tools that they have if no one's taught them? Oh my gosh, I'd love to go around and teach kids in seminars how to do gardening and stuff and live off the land. Wouldn't that be so cool? But no, I definitely would encourage career days and life skill community work, just to push those tools out there that, like, they have so much to look forward to, and yet in your late teens, early 20s, it's such an unknown time. And I definitely know the demographic that listens to the podcast are in the, 25 to 45 age bracket. So it's not really necessarily a toolbox for you guys as it is to pass on to younger people that you might know, that obviously these are the type of things that we think about now, that if you started earlier, things might be a little bit different. I personally would absolutely love to go around like retirement homes and seek information and life lessons from the older generation, because what they've been through and the weird stuff that goes on, it's just, I'm here for it. And because I don't have grandparents, I just thrive off that kind of environment. It's so cool and weird. And my brother just thought he'd add to this and said, but what about pet care? That's more than the taking home the class pet. And I said, when did you ever take home the class pet? He says, no, it's that Adam Sandler movie on Netflix with the lizard. Because the lizard teaches life lessons and has a toolbox of stuff that he gives to the kids to, help be better. And I think, that's so sweet. So, yeah, look, it's not so much like a toolbox for us oldies, but it is something to think about, that obviously we've moved along in life. And if things were a little bit more understood at an early age, I definitely think things would be a little bit different down the line. And it's so interesting. I just think, holy shit, I wish I had my gardening thumb that I have now back when I was 20 and I could live off the land, because the house I'm in at the minute is my mum and my brother's little adventure. They built it when I was in Australia, and I don't really have a say in anything, which is great, because quite frankly, if I did, the walls would all be different colours and there'd be strange tapware. But I kind of feel like the garden is my area, but it's not even, because I have to run everything past Sue's to get it in the garden. But in doing that, I've snuck things in along the way that I've made some bad choices on. And I look back and I'm like, why did you just do that? Why didn't you ask an older person? Like someone that knows. And the funnier thing right now is that the lawn care, it cracks me up, because honestly, like, I didn't know this, but there's several types of lawn seed, and quite frankly, grabbing the cheapest one at the gardening centre is not the way to go, because at the end of the day, the terrain and the atmospheric conditions down here, we can't just use any old seed. I'm telling you now, it's absolutely rubbish. So I was on the phone to my granddad, and he has this Yates gardening book, and it's so informative. He swears by it. He reckons he's getting me one for my birthday. And I just think, oh, this would have been so much different if he was in the area and he came and he saw the state of the lawn and he was like, you need this, friggin' lawn seed, don't use that. But no, I had to join an actual lawn fanatics Facebook page just to find out what other people were using. And then I told Mum, I said, oh, maybe we should put frost cloth on the lawn so it survives winter. And she was like, get off that friggin' lawn page. I was like, uh-oh. But no, everything is a life lesson, and the toolbox is meant to enable you to obviously further your understanding in different things. I just wanted to put it out there on my podcast that it doesn't go unnoticed. And I definitely think if we can, we should educate as best we can. And I mean, I'm only going to talk about this, extremely briefly because there's so many components to it. But even, I'll give you an example. I have this beautiful coworker. He's so much fun. And the other day I was talking to him. He went to a house party and he left maybe like 20 minutes into it because his anxiety took over and he couldn't compute what was happening, and he left. And I was like talking to him about things that I have in my toolbox to deal with anxiety and stress and stuff. And I said to him, listen, at the end of the day, I'm super proud of you for actually entering the premise and going in. That's a huge win for you. I understand it was a lot and you had to leave, but at least you weren't out in your car chugging black Smirnoffs because you couldn't get past the front door. You actually made it into an environment and you were, not coping and you left, but you did it. And that's huge. And I said to him, well, there's different medications, and I'm not going to tell you guys about all that type of shit because I've told you that before, but something I'm really interested in that I want to try myself, because I'm not an anxious person. I don't get nervous in sort of environments and stuff. I always have this mentality that I have been alone my whole life. Like, I don't have partners. I don't have support where it comes to, like, if you're going to go to a pub or something, you have people with you. I just go alone and it's quite obvious. I always know in my mind that if I don't go, I'm not going at all. So if I don't get through that door, we're not going to enjoy ourselves because we'll be back at home being miserable. So I force myself. And I was telling him about this new drink that's come out in Hawaii that I'm going to grab some cans of when I'm over there and see what happens. But it's got this ingredient like an adaptogen, and it's kind of the same effect as if you have 2 8% cans of alcohol in this one can, but there's no alcohol. It's just a different, like a sedative, but not in a way, I don't know. I'm going to find more out about it. I'm definitely going to bring some home. But I definitely enjoy kind of helping people talk out situations and hearing how they're trying to deal with things and giving them sort of different things from my toolbox as information. Like, I am a curious George. I thrive off people's situations and encouraging them to do this, this, and this, and how I can help. There's so much happening in my own private life right now with my family that obviously I feel like I'm just the puppet master, where I'm just giving information here, there, and everywhere and helping my family through some weird shit. But isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? It's so crazy. If you do have those supportive and mentoring people in your life, I absolutely recommend sitting down with them, listening to the stories, hearing what they have to say, being patient, and just, if you're interested in something that's weird and you're curious, deep dive on it and get yourself sort of, I don't know, more informed, and you'll see massive results and benefits. It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like it's like a compounded thing. If you start doing something, then it compounds to the next thing, and your toolbox just grows and grows and grows, and you're so, I don't know, put together. I am in no way put together though, you guys, and I'm going to end it here as the podcast today. There is no 75 hard update. I'm going to leave you hanging for a week just because Well, just because. And no digital stuff update just because I've got stuff going on that I don't really need to talk about today. It's definitely all happening in the background. And of course, I will catch up with you in a week. But take care. I hope you've taken something away from my life hacks and my toolbox. And I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye now.